Hello, innovators. The purpose of this video is to talk about the Christian practice of Sabbath. I've defined Sabbath as a healthy rhythm of labor and rest. In Matthew chapter 11, according to Eugene Peterson's translation called The Message, he talks about unforced rhythms of grace, quoting Jesus, unforced rhythms of grace. What do we mean by unforced? I have in mind here what the theologian Jamie Smith talks about when he talks about using the example of healthy eating. He talks about how many of us think that the goal is to have mindful, healthy eating so that we think about and we pay attention to everything that we put in our mouths and make sure that it's healthy. And he says, actually, that's not the goal. The goal is what he calls mindless healthy eating, that we are so committed to healthy eating that we can do it without even thinking about it. That's what he means by, that's what I take to unforced rhythms of grace. I don't have to force myself into them. So what do we think about a healthy rhythm of labor and rest? I want to talk about three things with that: healthy rhythm, healthy labor, and healthy rest. What I mean by a healthy rhythm is the idea that we get into a smooth motion where there is labor in our lives, there is rest in our lives. There is not a lot of angst about trying to figure out, is this going to be a moment of rest? I've got to squeeze in a moment. If I have to squeeze in a moment of rest, it's not very restful. I remember the other day, I was working in the middle of something and I had a 10-minute break. And I said to myself, okay, this is a good chance for a rest. And I tried to force myself to rest for 10 minutes. It really didn't accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. It was better than nothing, but it's not the kind of healthy rhythm that we're talking about. It's building into our days and weeks and years and months this idea of moving from labor to rest. And I want to take up Jamie Smith's idea of healthy eating, and I want to offer for you what's the version of this that we think about healthy labor and healthy rest. When we think about healthy labor, we all know what junk food is. We all know that there's times that I'm eating, but it's not all that nourishing. I want to suggest that there is junk food labor, that there is labor that I get involved in that's just not all that helpful. I'm procrastinating or I'm distracting myself or whatever it is, it's not a healthy kind of labor. Whatever it is that we are trying to do when we deal with Sabbath, we can't just think of Sabbath as a day of rest. We have to think of it also as teaching our people to labor well. How does this go back to Scripture? This goes back to Scripture because think about the context in which the Ten Commandments were written. That's where we get this idea of a Sabbath, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. What they were living in the midst of was years and generations of just continuous labor that went on and on and on and on, and building a rhythm so that every Sunday, or every Saturday in that case, once a week, there's just a day of rest. Everybody knows it. That's a rhythm. That it's not like, well, should I take a day of rest this week? We all know that this is the day of rest. That's what it looks like to be able to have a healthy rhythm. And what you do during that week is healthy labor, and then what you do during that day of rest is healthy rest. We all know that many of us practice what we might call junk food rest. The idea of we are resting, but it's not all that healthy. I want to suggest to you the kind of rest that is healthy rest is renewing. It's when you're done with it, you feel alive, you feel connected to God, you feel re-energized. For me, I've had to recognize that healthy rest often means not just laying there or sitting down, but it means engaging my mind, but a part of my mind that is not engaged during the week. Not doing work, but engaging something that I find stimulating and interesting. But it also means for me often engaging my body. Exercise is a significant part of healthy rest for me because I spend most of my days sitting at a desk doing work or standing in front of a classroom teaching. So for me, oftentimes, sports is a really healthy way to engage both my mind and my body. For my wife, that would not be a particularly healthy way. For her, crafts, sewing, knitting, that kind of thing is a healthy way to connect both her body and her mind. Whatever it is, we have to find a way to enable the people entrusted to our care, our people, to find a healthy rhythm, to find a healthy way to labor that is not junk food labor, and to find a healthy way to rest that is not junk food rest.